Coming up, you'll discover which ASO tool has the most accurate data to help you increase downloads for your app. I'm going to share real results from clients so you'll know that there won't be any theoretical BS, just hardcore results. Stay tuned. What is up, App Nation? It is Steve P. Young, founder of appmasters.co, the place, the YouTube channel, the blog, the podcast you go when you want non-theoretical, fluffy, high-level BS, but when you want down into the weeds, detailed app marketing strategies that will help you increase downloads cost effectively. We have an agency, so if you're interested in working with us, check us out. But this video will show you which ASO tool has the most accurate data. Now, I want to preface this by saying we are analyzing just 3 tools right now. I'm a one-man show. I can't analyze all the tools. I will add on more. So I'll say this is part 1, and we're going to do more case studies on this because I think this is a great topic because I believe in ASO and we've got the results to show you, but I also want to preface it by saying we're only analyzing 3. So the 3 that we're going to be looking at, let's go to the slideshow, actually to the presentation, and see what we're going to be analyzing, okay? All right, so the 3 that we're looking at is Sensor Tower, App Tweak, and Mobile Action. And here is what I've lined up. Now, this is all real data that I've pulled for our clients. I've literally pulled this from an optimization that we did, okay? And I'm going to go over just some of the data because there's a lot of columns here. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'd recommend checking out the video as well. So I'll just go through some of the columns and then go into some of the details of which tool is the most accurate. Let's look at Sensor Tower, for example. Traffic, that is the amount of traffic that a keyword has. So pretty self-explanatory. The higher, the better. Now, what I don't like about Sensor Tower is that Apple has started to expose the traffic numbers. Now you can see App Tweak and Mobile Action, their search score and volume, all mean the same thing. They're pretty similar. So they're very similar to what Apple is already showing. Now, if there are some discrepancies like these keywords, you can always look into the Apple Search Ads tool to really verify if this is a 39 or a 14, which tool is more correct. So I don't really pay attention to that as much, the search volume, because I can always correct it. And for the most part, Mobile Action and App Tweak are very similar because they're pulling from the same data source. Apple. Okay, now the difficulty and why they're highlighted. So if you see them highlighted, all these numbers highlighted in green and bolded, that just means this is what I, Steve Young, has personally deemed to be low competition. So for Sensor Tower, it's anything under 3. For App Tweak, it's anything under 30 and under. And for Mobile Action, the chance score, the higher, the better. It's anything 70 above. So I'm using the same type of barometer for all 3 different platforms, okay? In a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 100 in Mobile Action's case. So as you can see, if you just tell, and then the ranking, why it's red, these are all the keywords that we've been managed to help them in the top 10. So you can see there's about 15 keywords that are in the top 6. Now let's go through the different apps. And I've picked out 3 apps in different categories to really try to find to make sure that, it's not just one is good for games and one is good for lifestyle and one's good for kids. Try to show 3 different apps in 3 different categories for you, okay? So also I'm hiding the app itself because obviously I'm sharing a lot of data. You can screenshot this and you can figure this out. And I'm also hiding the keywords, okay? So if you're listening to this, know that those are not not on the spreadsheet, but the ranks are real ranks and real data, okay? So app number 1, it's a game. We actually increased downloads by 50%, okay? Within a couple of weeks after updating the app with our suggested app name and keywords, we increased downloads for 50%. Okay. The thing that I want to get at, you can kind of tell if you're watching this, is when it's red, you see that Mobile Action's pretty green too. And so is Sensor Tower, whereas App Tweak is not. So you can kind of get a sense of which one's the most accurate. Now, when I do my ASO, I pull together a huge list of keywords that I could potentially target. And then what I also do is put these keywords in all these different tools. And then I look at the data and I figure out where to put certain keywords where, like in the app name, or should they be in the keyword field? Okay, and here's what the keywords that we really want to find. This is a beautiful one. I won't tell you which keyword, but we're number 1 for. Now, what you see is good traffic, 25 is decent. It's not huge, but it's decent. And there's a low difficulty and a high chance, meaning we're going to rank really well for that keyword. Now, I think this keyword is actually in the app name, and we're ranking number 1. So when I find something like that, that's very relevant to our, 1, that's relevant to our app, and 2, has good traffic but low competition, I'm going to try to optimize it for it in the app name. Okay. If it has low search volume, like this one right here, this first one, I might put that in the US keyword field or the Mexico Spanish keyword field to double it up. Okay. If you're just watching me for the first time, I was just going back into some of our ASO videos and really checking those out. All right. So now that I explained this, I'm going to go through the big part that you should be paying attention to, which is right here. Okay. So let's go through this. This is a game. We've got total keywords in the top 10. We've got 15. We were able to get 15 keywords into the top 10, really the top 6 here, okay? And we increased downloads by 50%, all right? So because we're able to find these little gems where good traffic score, low competition, we're really able to rank high for, we're able to increase downloads by 50%. Purely doing nothing else but changing the app name and the keywords. Purely white hat stuff, no black hat stuff, okay? I don't want to be associated with just only black hat strategies at all. Okay, so total keywords, we did top 10 was what I termed 15 keywords. Now, here's how I'm going to break down the stats. Mobile Action told us that 18 keywords were low difficulty, meaning 70% and higher. Okay? Of those 18, we were able to get top 10, 14 keywords. So their correct rate, is what I call it, is 77%. Sensor Tower said there was 22 keywords and 14 of those keywords happen to be in the top 10. They're probably the same keywords that Mobile Action has said, except one, or this one, where Sensor Tower says 4.6, Mobile Action said 92%, we're number 4. But they were about 64% correct on this. And then App Tweak is about 50%. They said there's only gonna be 10 low competition keywords, and of those 10, 5 are in the top, or we're in the top 10 for, okay? Does that make sense? Good. I'm asking questions like you can answer me or I can even hear you. The next thing I want to look at too is the keywords in the top 6. Okay, so which keywords did Mobile Action say that we were going to be in the top 6 that we ended up being the top 6 for? Okay, so right now 15 keywords in the top 6. Mobile Action said 14. Sensor Tower said 14. App Tweak said 5. Of those, 93% correct for Mobile Action. Sensor Tower 93, and then App Tweak about 33%. Okay, so App Tweak, what they're showing you, what I guess the net, and we'll go through in the final slide. I'll give you the summary of all these things, of the different categories, and I'll give you a final summary of what I think is happening here. But just know that this is happening. Right now, it seems like Mobile Action is the most accurate in terms of difficulty. And that's what I really look at, because the search score you can always verify from Apple. I look at difficulty. And here, we can play around with this, right? This one, you can see, and that's why I always recommend using 2 tools, is this said, Sensor Tower said this is low difficulty, this keyword, and Mobile Action and App Tweak both said that it's not, it's pretty difficult, it's keyword, but we're number 1 for this particular keyword. While the search volume isn't high, we're number 1. So that's why I always recommend using 2 particular tools. And then if you look at here, like App Tweak, you can see that some of these low competition keywords that they've pulled out, Sensor Tower and Mobile Action said they're pretty difficult and we're not ranking well for it. And I think the key here is we're not ranking at all for this particular keyword. It's probably a big competitor of ours, but as you can tell, like that's a big flag for me. Like I don't like it when a keyword tool tells me there's low competition for a keyword and I can't rank at all for this, because that is what I'm looking for, is low competition keywords. And you can play around with this as well with Sensor Tower. So again, these both said low competition. App Tweak and Sensor Tower said low competition, but we're number 40. Even though Mobile Action said, hey, it seems pretty competitive. Well, that's very close. So just know that. Also, what I'm not revealing is where the keywords are. Are they in the US app name or the Spanish Mexico app name? So that's some variation on there. All right, now let's look at the second app, lifestyle. Here we did Again, maybe low bar, no optimization whatsoever, but we did 371% increase in downloads. That's why I believe ASO is such a valuable tool. It's something that we can control too, because we can optimize some keywords and try to get this number 8 ranking to number 1 with different tactics. But as you can see, just simple changes to the app name and the keywords, we're able to dramatically increase that baseline. So if you're averaging, just a few hundred downloads a day, just by a few tweaks, you can really dramatically increase the downloads for your apps. I'm not going to go through some of the data. I'm just going through some of the highlights. So Sensor Tower said there's 27 apps that actually were low difficulty, right? And of those, only 13 we ended up being in the top 10. So they got about a 50% hit rate. Again, AppTweak said 10 and 8. So they got an 80% hit rate right here. Mobile Action said 16 and said 12. We did 75%. So 18 keywords in total we were able to rank in the top 10 for. And right here, really top 8. So of those keywords, this is the next one, of the keywords that were ranking in the top 8 for, which tool said that they were low difficulty keywords that would end up being correct, okay? So Sensor Tower, 13 of the 18, Mobile Action, 12 of the 18, and AppTweak, 8 of the 18. Because AppTweak didn't say that there were that many keywords that were low difficulty, right? So take that with what it may be. Right now, it's Sensor Tower, correct? 72% of the time. Mobile Action, about 67% of those keywords. And then AppTweak, 44%. So again, AppTweak is on the bottom of this. That's just because they're not showing that there's they're showing that there's more competition than there might really be, okay? Don't worry, I'm gonna summarize all this. I know there's a lot of data. There's a lot of data for me to pull. All right, let's look at the last app. It's a kids app. We did 420% increase in downloads. Like a dramatic increase in downloads. And look, we're not even ranking that many keywords in the top 6 in this case. We only have 6 keywords ranking in the top 6, but we're able to find some with good traffic volume and low competition. So Sensor Tower, again, has the most keywords with low difficulty. That's 21. Of those 21, all 6 ended up being right. Like we had 6 in there. So low hit rate there. Like they're not as low difficulty as Sensor Tower is saying they are. So they had about a 28% correct rate. AppTweak ends up being the lowest again in terms of difficulty. 5 of those keywords were in the top 6. They got a 50%. And here, I will show this for you as well. So you can tell these 10. And here's the big one, I think, that, well, actually, let's do this. So forward by rank. So here's the big one, right? Number 6 that we made it on. AppTweak was saying it's really competitive, where Sensor Tower and Mobile Action were saying, we could probably rank well for this. And they're right. We're ranking number 6 for this. And then Mobile Action, if you do low difficulty, and I'll sort this by chance, you can end up, they said 19 keywords were low difficulty, and only about 6 were able to rank well for. So that's how I determine, which keywords to use. I just sort it by the difficulty, and there's enough search volume that these are the keywords that we end up targeting. So these are valuable information for me. It's like I need the competition score. That's what I really rely on. And Mobile Action did 31% correct. But the data here, obviously almost all the keywords had some variation that they were in, they were low competition because they ended up being right? Like Sensor Tower, of the 21, 6 of the 6 we ended up being top, so forth. So they're all correct right here in terms of where do we end up. Of the 6, did each tool, this is what I'm trying to figure out right here, is of the keywords that we ended up being in the top 10 for, which keyword tools told us we would end up there, okay? And the top section is saying, of the keyword tools that you're telling us have low difficulty, which ended up being correct. So the more, obviously, this is kind of skewed, the more keywords that you tell us are going to be low competition and where we end up, the higher your rate is going to be. And unfortunately, AppTweak just doesn't tell us enough keywords are low difficulty, and that's why they're always at the bottom here. See, let's go back. AppTweak, the lowest one right here, the lowest one right here, and the lowest one right here. And Sensor Tower and Mobile Action are saying that they're more accurate. And so let's summarize all this because there's a lot of data. All right, here's the big summary. Now combined all the data from the 3 different categories, 3 different apps, and I'm presenting you this. Okay, So here's what we've learned. Mobile Action said 53 keywords across those 3 apps have low difficulty. Of those 53, we ended up being the top 10, really top 8, but who's counting? I am. 32 were in the top 8, right? So that was 60%, they were correct. They said, hey, these keywords are low competition. They were right 60% of the time. AppTweak said 31 keywords have low difficulty, and 18 of them, we ended up being in the top 10. They're about 58% correct. Now, Sensor Tower said 70. Whoa, tons of low difficulty keywords. And we ended up being 33 were in the top 10. So that's 41.1% right. So in terms of accuracy of the low difficulty, I would say Mobile Action is probably the best because one, Sensor Tower is saying there's a lot of keywords that have low difficulty. AppTweak saying there's very little, and Mobile Action saying probably right in the middle of those two. As you can see from the stats, that like 30, 53, and 70, like literally in the middle, and most of them end up being accurate. In terms of 60% tells us most accurate, okay? Now, again, we got 39 keywords in total in the top 8 for all 3 clients. And as you can see, the more keywords that you tell us are gonna be accurate, your percentage-wise is gonna be this. So I don't like this stat. I don't know why I put this. I put this together for just to kind of see. I'm not a statistician, but I would say that this is probably more accurate in terms of how accurate the data is, the top part. Because this one, obviously Sensor Tower is not gonna be as accurate because they didn't tell us enough keywords were gonna be in the top 6, right? Sensor Tower told us a ton of keywords were gonna be in the top 8, and they were right, like 80%. So Sensor Tower and Mobile Action were correct in that they got 32 keywords in the top, that ended up being, that said they were low difficulty, that where we ended up being in the top 8. All right, a lot of data to suggest, so I apologize if this is a little bit confusing, but net, I would say all this combined, Mobile Action probably has the best data that you can use to really determine difficulty, search score, all of it together. The one thing that I will also point out is, look, I'm not associated with any of these tools. Some did give me access to some of these tools, so I really appreciate that. I'm just trying to give you a very objective view on these 3 tools. And I'll try to try out some other ones if you want to give me access to it as I'm doing more client work with ASO. And the other thing I'll mention is I've got a couple of clients that we just did ASO on where we use all 3 different tools to optimize an app. Here, I actually use AppTweak and Mobile Action to optimize the app. And I threw in the Sensor Tower data just to see how it would line up. And for the longest time, I was using Sensor Tower data, but I hated that their search score was off. And so I moved over to AppTweak to try that out. But I've always used Mobile Action. For now, I feel like Mobile Action is the most accurate. The last thing I'll mention too is, just from my experience, Sensor Tower, it's funny because you see a lot of low difficulty keywords on iOS. It's actually the flip side on Google Play. So as we do more Google Play analysis, I'll share that data for you as well. This is all iOS comparing the 3 different tools, okay? So net, a lot of data. What I would say is Mobile Action probably has the most accurate in terms of being right in the middle of the 2 other tools in terms of showing you the right amount of keywords that have low difficulty and the right number of keywords that have low difficulty. All right, that's it. Hope that was useful. If you got any questions, feel free to email me anytime. If you want access to this data, I don't know if I'm gonna give it yet, if you just wanna see the spreadsheet that we put together, but just email me or leave a comment on YouTube or on my blog. Let me know if you want access to this data. And if enough people, enough, just can't be one. I mean like 10, 20 people have to ask for it, then I might make this available for you, this spreadsheet. But for now, it'll live with me because I don't want too many keywords going out. Because as you can see, I found some real gems here and I do not want you to know the app or the keywords because we're doing great work for our clients. If you're interested in working with us from an ASO perspective, reach out to me at masters.co. There's a little work with us button. And if you haven't already, subscribed to the podcast at masters.co/iTunes and the YouTube channel at masters.co/YouTube. Or if you're already watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Help me out, man. Come on. I'm sharing good work. This is gonna help me push and to know that people are actually watching it, subscribing. It's gonna help me create more videos as well. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.